Confirmation of previous minutes. Have someone moving that way? Councillor Lee, seconded. Councillor Mason, all in favour? Okay, so all in favour for the previous minutes. So we've got Councillor Dixon, Grine. Okay, Councillor Dixon, Grine, Hill, King, Lee, Madden, Mason, Palmowski, Pascoe, and Watton. Those against? Councillor Jerd and Councillor Harrington. No problem. Any disclosures of interest? No disclosures. No petitions that I've received. Any petitions from other councillors tonight? No. We have no speakers or public address. We'll now go on to the Englobo voting list. So the consideration and adoption of all reports. Can I someone moving that way? Councillor Lee, seconded. Councillor King. Councillor Lee speaking.
Thank you, Mayor. Recommending that having read and considered the reports in the agenda related to items GMU1 2025, CC 25 2025, CC 26 2025 and CC 27 2025, Council adopt the recommendations as printed in the business papers for those items.
Thank you, Councillor Lee. All in favour? It's unanimous. Now moving on to motions of urgency. I've received two motions of urgency. First, I've received one from Councillor Palmowski. So Councillor Palmowski, would you like to speak? Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, my motion of urgency is to call upon Council to seek an urgent meeting with State Member for Cessnock Clayton Bar and Federal Member Dan Repicoli to discuss coordinated plans to support those experiencing homelessness currently residing in TAFE Park. After Council has attempted to work with these individuals and provide support, further action is warranted for support, especially as there is an increase in those experiencing homelessness in our town of Cessnock. A collaborative approach in finding and offering support in terms of accommodation, support services, healthcare and more is needed.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Palmowski. Just before, just to make more further comment on this, just want to make it known that I have been having regular meetings with Clayton Bar, and I know I've mentioned that to you before. I think the idea of having Dan Repicoli involved is a good move. So regardless, I think we need to have all hands on deck, and I'm happy to hear this later as part of the meeting. So thank you. Okay, so I'd like to put this forward to Council. That is a motion of urgency. Could I have a vote on that now, please? It's unanimous. Okay. Any other motions of urgency? Councillor Jode.
Thank you, Mayor Watton. My motion of urgency, I believe, hang on, sorry, let me get back to the thing. So, motion of urgency reviewing of sporting clubs leasing agreements, that Council urgently reviews the existing policy governing leasing agreements with sporting clubs with a view to simplify processes and supporting the sustainability of our local clubs. I believe it to be urgent due to the expedition period being the 6th of May till the 3rd of June. The policy endorsed by the previous term of Council needs to be brought back under the microscope. We're currently in the midst of a cost of living crisis, and many community-based sporting clubs are already operating on razor-thin margins. The current leasing framework risks compounding these pressures by making it harder, not easier, for local clubs to utilise council-owned facilities. Sporting clubs play a vital role in the social fabric of our communities. They provide physical, social and mental health benefits, fostering a sense of belonging and create opportunities for youth engagement. The least we can do as a council is to ensure our policies aren't putting unnecessary barriers in the way. A review of this policy is about fairness, practicality and supporting the community. We should be looking for ways to make it simpler and more cost effective for clubs to continue their work, not burdening them with a red tape of unworkable leasing terms.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Jerd. So I did have a brief moment to review that motion of urgency. Might just get some further commentary. My understanding is that we've got one particular arrangement that's on public exhibition at the moment. It's due to come back. So just with regards to review of the policy, Director, would you have further comment about reviewing this policy now or? Okay.
Urgent or not, and then it's up to council to consider that.
Okay. So I do agree that the matter needs to be heard. So yeah, based on that, I'd actually like to see it go forward. So I'll put it forward for a vote on this matter. So review of policy. So yep, Councillor King.
Can I just ask that Councillor Judd actually reads out a motion to be put on the screen so all councillors can see what it is, please?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Governing leasing agreements. With sporting clubs. Yeah, with a view to simplify processes and supporting the sustainability of local clubs. Should I put that last bit? I believe it to be urgent due to expedition period being the 6th of May till the 3rd of June.
So maybe that last bit, I think you mainly wanted to have the policy reviewed.
Yep.
Yeah. As a matter of urgency. But the trigger, obviously being the policy being on public exhibition or the lease agreement, should I say. Okay. So we'll now put that forward for a vote. Are you happy with the wording up there, Councillor Judd?
That looks like what I've wrote. Yep.
Councillor Grine?
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, well, we'll put it for a vote. There's no debate with the motion of urgency. Yep, so put it forward for a vote. Question?
As Councillor Judd read out, I think
Yep.
she said with a view to simplify processes.
Oh, yes, yep. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah,
So simplify.
simplifying, yeah, processes. Yep. Yep, that's it.
Simplify. Yep. Okay, so we're happy with that wording. It's understood what the intention of that is, so I'll put it forward for a vote. Those in favour? Councillor Dixon, Harrington, it's unanimous. Okay, so to forward, form part of the business paper tonight. Okay, no further motions of urgency? Got them all? Okay. So on to officers' reports. So report number PE 12/2025. This is the planning proposal for the reclassification of council land post-exhibition. Do I have someone moving that way? Councillor King, seconded Councillor Harrington. Do you have anyone speaking to the matter? Councillor Judd?
Oh, thank you, Mayor Wharton. I just got a couple of questions. So it's more for IT with the website, if anyone would be able to answer it. I didn't get a chance to put it in writing before tonight. It says on the 3rd of April 2025 there was a public hearing which was advertised only on council's website. Is that correct? Was that the only way that public hearing was advertised?
Director?
If that's what the council report says, that would be
Yep,
correct,
right.
Councillor Judd.
I'm just curious, do we know how many people actually look at the council's website to see that? Like, would we have the numbers on who would have seen it?
Director?
I'll have to take that question on notice, Councillor Judd.
Why I ask is because there was at least six out of 7 submissions for the residents that live around there were against this development, and there was only like 2 people that attended. I didn't actually know about this public hearing myself, because otherwise I would have put it on social media to let people know. But the biggest concern from the residents that I've seen in this report is the lack of actual information. They don't know how it will affect their land value, what traffic issues it will cause. They don't like that it will affect the nature and animals around the area. I'm concerned it be, what I'd like is people to actually know more information before they put in these submissions, because, you know, sometimes we have this one first, then the next one, and if they knew what was coming next, they probably would have said no in the first place. So that's just my opinion on it. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Dixon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't really have a question. I just want to point something out that I read in the paperwork for this reclassification. I'd really like to encourage the public to go to the council website and read the papers for each council meeting. In the enclosure, page 8, section B, you will see that the objective number 3 of this reclassification is to create a 15-minute neighbourhood. For those who don't know what a 15-minute neighbourhood or city is, I encourage you to look it up, especially in the UK, where these 15-minute neighbourhoods have already been implemented. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Dixon. Any further comment or debate? No further discussion. Put it forward for a vote. Those in favour? Councillor Groyne, Harrington, Hill, King, Lee, Madden, Mason, Pamalski, Pascoe and Watton. Those against? Councillor Dixon and Jerd. Matters carried. Now moving on to the next report. So PE 13/2025. This is to do with the Cessnock City Council and Maitland City Council boundary adjustments. Can I have someone moving that? Councillor King, seconded Councillor Harrington. Any discussion? Councillor Harrington.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a question really for the Director of Planning through you. For the benefit of the gallery, the few that are here tonight, and those who are watching on YouTube, are you able to provide us with a brief overview of the future plans to develop the Curry Hydro site? 2, can you explain to Council and the community the benefits of such a development for our LGA? And 3, the importance of making this a boundary adjustment of these 2 lots that we are discussing here tonight with Maitland Council.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Harrington. I think just with regards to Curry Hydro, completely separate matter, but might get some further commentary from one of the directors just with regards to the other following nuances. Over to Director of Planning.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor, Councillor Harrington. Long time in the making, the Curry regrowth, and there are on a number of different websites, well actually 5 so there's a Curry regrowth website that has a lot of information, shows the master plan. The McCloy Group and the Stevens Group are in partnership in that development. Each of those have information relating to their roles. And there are DCPs and master plans on our website and Maitland Council's website if people go to have a look. Broadly, it's a redevelopment, obviously, of the old smelter site. There is the works have been going on with the containment cell and the gas. There is, I think it's in the order of 1,500, 1,600 hectares. About 1,000 of those hectares remain either as rural agricultural land or conservation land, tied up in agreements with Conservation Authority New South Wales. 1,300 lots that run predominantly on the east of the railway line that runs through the site, and that's where this boundary adjustment has come in. One of the benefits of this particular site is that there is somewhere in the order of 350 hectares of employment land, which is towards the south and around the Hunter Expressway. So there's an augmentation of the expressway, so on and off ramps on the north, and that opportunity for some more localised employment across business park, light industrial and heavy industrial uses, which is really necessary. Where you get up to the boundary with Maitland, the arrangement of the railway line and the current boundary, there's some land that is zoned residential that sits on this side of the railway line, but is within Maitland's LGA, and the counter on a little further north to that. And this just simplifies that boundary arrangement to the railway line. All the residential land that's there would then be within our LGA, so ratings and services and garbage collections would all be supplied through Cessnock, not a small portion at Maitland, and similarly with the rural land. So I think it's about 0.6 of a hectare of our land we get from Maitland in residentially zoned land, and the balance is about 3.6 that goes to Maitland, but that's rural zoned land, so at a much lower rating value. But have a look at the Curry regrowth site for the master plan, and as I said, the developers, McCloy and Stevens Group, have a lot of information as well.
Thank you, Director. I do realise that we're not voting on that development tonight, but I just thought it was important that the community who are watching or listening do understand the importance of the decision we're making tonight about the boundary changes and how that will affect the future of that area in our LGA. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Harrington. Councillor Hill.
Thank you, Mayor Wotton. Just for additionally for the benefit of those looking along at home and in the gallery, I would note that Councillors received an informational memo this afternoon in response to some questions submitted by Councillor Dixon. I would note that currently on screen the resolution reads with the correct lot numbers and DP numbers. However, if you happen to have a copy of the agenda in front of you, such as I do, you may note that the one of the lots listed is different to the resolution there. That was an administrative error with the original lot number printed in the agenda, but the numbers for the lots now listed in this resolution are those that are correct.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Hill. Any further discussion? No further discussion, we'll put it forward for a vote. Those in favour? It's unanimous. Moving on to report number CC 22/2025, the review of the 22-26 delivery program. Can I have someone moving that? Councillor Lee, seconded Councillor King. On speaking to it, Councillor Jerd.
Thank you, Mayor. On page 53 of the enclosures, 1.3.5.B says, prepare reports for and facilitate the local traffic committee. All meetings completed and report detailing outcomes/results will be communicated at ordinary council meetings. I just wanted to point out the March traffic committee didn't report back to council. I know that there was one item on there that I did question, and it was because it was delegated through the GM. But when I seen this, I thought, why hasn't the rest of it come back to council when it normally comes to the April meeting?
Okay, yeah, thank you, Councillor Jerd. I did receive a memo concerning that about the sub-delegated authority, or delegated to the GM authority and potential sub-delegation. But to speak to the more of the nuances, I might pass it over to the Director of Works, Infrastructure.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Councillor Jerd, the intent was to streamline the process in accordance with those changes that Transport for New South Wales had made at the end of 2023. So where there are, I guess, standard business that comes through the Traffic Committee, and the Traffic Committee and recommend by unanimous decision an outcome that is then able to be sub-delegated to the General Manager and also onto myself. And as a result, the attempt is to streamline that process with the Traffic Committee and not bring them to council for the purpose of noting.
Okay, so I just want to make sure I understand it completely. So the other items that were on there, because one of them wasn't unanimous with one of the votes, in particular one by project, that was not a unanimous vote. I actually voted against that. So I'm not sure why that at least hasn't come to the council meeting to be reported back.
Would you mind if I take that on notice, and I'll get back to you with an explanation regarding that item?
Yep, no drama. Okay. I've got a couple other questions. So what's the cost to council to take over Stomp? As I remember last term, a previous councillor telling us that Stomp was expensive to run and they didn't make much money on it. So is that something that we are looking at taking over?
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Jed. Definitely know that we are taking over. I was one of the main ones pushing for that so we can keep it. I might pass, can I get the Director of Planning to speak further?
Thank you, through you, Mr Mayor. Councillor Jerd, in conjunction with or consultation with the Chamber and the difficulty with them coordinating, so the money that was allocated to the Chamber has been remitted to Council for the purposes of running the Stomp this year, together with the addition of trying to get more sponsorship. The intention would be that we'll continue to work with the Chamber and see if going forward we can continue with them running and getting grant money for the purposes of that. But at this point, we're not anticipating there'll be anything in terms of additional expenditure. The money that was expended to the Chamber has come back to Council and is being put towards the running of the Stomp Festival this year.
Yeah, I just want to make it clear though, I'm not against it. I just was curious because I know that we've had a lot of conversation about Stomp in the previous terms, and I mean it is a great festival to have. I've got one more question on page 71 of the enclosures, the 3.1.4, the koala funding request successful and with the deed currently under review. Can you just sort of explain that to me a little bit more, what that actually means?
Director? I'd need to, sorry,
Can I take it on notice?
If you wouldn't mind, thank you.
That's no drama. I just, you know, when it said koala and we had that a couple of meetings ago about Buckety, that flagged my attention, so no drama.
Yeah, no, question is it's to commence the mapping research works, but beyond that I'll need to come back to you with more detail.
As long as we're heading towards the mapping, that'd be great. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Jerd. Councillor Hill.
Thank you, Mayor Watt. I'd just like to highlight a couple of points that are outlined in some of this section of this report, which are probably some things that maybe don't get a massive amount of attention that sort of come from this delivery program. So some of the highlights that I mentioned within this third quarter that were undertaken that come from objectives within this operational plan and delivery program are things such as the Seniors Festival that Council put on between the 3rd and the 16th of March, which this year, if you happen to get your hands on a copy of the sort of the book with the guideline of all the events, you'll notice it was packed full of different events all across the LGA, along with our fantastic representation across all of those events from our senior Citizen of the Year from last year, Mrs. Delma White, rocking up to a lot of those events and representing Council. The other things that were put on were the Australia Day Awards and Citizenship Ceremony, which welcomed 33 new citizens. These are things that perhaps I guess everyone sort of expects to just tick along in the background, but initially come from these directions that we include in our delivery programs and from the hard work of our staff that put them on, especially with the ambassador that we were able to have present at that day, Nick Newling, who gave a great speech to the ceremony about his personal journeys and the way that he supports the community as an ambassador. So I know we like to often carry on and hear about lots of the capital works and things like that would come through on the operational plans and delivery programs, but a lot of those side activities and things that go on that Council facilitates and promotes, I think are fantastic to see.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Hill. Just before we move forward for a vote, just checking the Councillor, you don't want to Rod reply as you move. So just want to make a quick comment on that too. Totally reiterate everything you're saying and agree with everything you're saying there. Delma White in particular, after speaking with her, she goes to bed still at this age at 12 o'clock at night and wakes up at 4 o'clock in the morning. Yeah, a lot of attention gets thrown towards capital works and rightfully so, but it's all these things that make up the kind of community that we have. And we've got to, it's great to be part of championing people like that as well. So with no further discussion, put the matter forward for a vote. All in favour? It's unanimous. Then moving on to report CC 23 2025. It's the quarterly budget review statement for quarter 3. Can I have someone moving that way? Councillor King. Seconded, Councillor Lee. Anyone to speak? Councillor King.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a question, as you probably would expect. I was going to ask about some numbers, but reading through that, I did figure it out myself. So I only have one question tonight, and just on the cash reserve section in the QBRS on page 119 of the enclosure, there's 16 items listed, and for the March quarter, the actual figures, there's 11 missing. So out of 16 line items, only 5 of them actually have figures in there. Can I just ask why that is?
Thank you. We'll actually put that over to CFO, Matt.
Thank you. Sorry, can you just confirm the page for me again, just so I can look it up?
So in the enclosure, it's 119.
Oh, okay, yes, right. So essentially, they're not missing. They've been depleted to zero as we've been drawing down on cash reserves to meet various requirements of operational and capital works programs, with the bit of cash bounce that we get from a loan to be drawn down by the end of May, as well as the rates that come in. I expect the reserves to start moving back in the other direction.
Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Jerd.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just got a quick question about Sawyers Gully Road, because at the moment we've been currently doing some works on Sawyers Gully Road, but on the enclosures on page 117, it says that $725,000 on Sawyers Gully Road to investigate and design spending is deferred. So I just kind of want to know what we're actually currently doing and why. What is this 725 that's getting deferred?
I'll put that through to the CFO again.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm not exactly clear on the detail. I think is a reprioritisation of another part of the project. I believe the existing works are still undergoing that have commenced, or it is alternatively just a reallocation to the next financial year to reflect more accurately where the spending is going to be. But I'm happy to take that on notice and get that detail to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That'd be great.
No further discussion. Put it forward for a vote. All in favour? It's unanimous. Okay, moving on to report number CC 24/2025. This is to do with the tender. So to be specific, T 2025-11, Weston Bears Pub Park Grandstand amenities and car park upgrade. Say that 3 times fast. Can I have someone moving that way? Councillor Lee, Councillor Harrison seconded. Speaking. Councillor Lee.
Thank you, Mayor. This one's been going on for quite some time. And we had a discussion last week, Mr. Mayor, it was before your time is indeed. So it's with great pride and enthusiasm, and I know that's shared amongst some other councillors in the chamber tonight, that I speak in full support of these upgrades. It's more than just bricks and mortar. It's an investment in our proud community, an investment in a historic club, and an investment in the future of sport in Weston, the future of sport across our LGA and more broadly across Newcastle and the Hunter. Weston Football Club has stood as a symbol of community pride and resilience and footballing excellence for over a century. The old Geordie miners built this club and started this club way back in 1907, and the club helped establish the strong, cohesive community based around their shared work ethic, their culture, their values. And the Geordies back in the day were known for their hospitality, for their loyalty, for their community spirit, and I like to think that over 100 years on, that still lives on in Weston. I can personally recall as a kid sitting up on the old scoreboard and updating the score, hoping that I wouldn't get tetanus from the rusty numbers. Thankfully, we've been able to update the scoreboard. We've got a new lighting system in at the park. As always, the playing surface itself is absolutely first class. And again, Mr. Mayor, I know we've had discussions with the current president of the club about the work that goes in, and Councillor Mason as well was part of that conversation about the work that goes into making sure that surface is indeed the envy of many others around. So this upgrade to me is a bit of a defining moment for council. It's the chance to bring the facilities in line with the already great parts of this club and with our area. It represents our recognition of the value sport plays in connecting communities. So with brand new change rooms, with gender inclusive facilities, updated car parking, and of course the refurbishment of the grandstand, we're turning Western Bears Park into a regional sporting hub that benefits the future and also recognises the history of the town and the club. Importantly, it delivers on many of our strategic objectives. It improves open space utilisation. It provides equitable, modern and safe amenities that encourage participation across all demographics, particularly women and girls in sport, whose involvement, particularly in football or in soccer, has skyrocketed in recent years and deserve equal access to facilities. It's worth acknowledging, I think, the partnership with all levels of government, in terms of the funding, particularly the $3 million from the federal government. And I think that co-investment really highlights that this is a regional significant project. This is a football club that has proud roots and it's got national recognition, and anybody can have a look at the history of the club and what they've achieved in that a little bit over 100 or nearly 120 years now, producing elite players to still these days having a packed facility on match days. The Bears are an institution, and this project helps ensure that institution will continue to thrive. So I wholeheartedly support this and encourage all councillors to do the same tonight.
Thank you, Councillor. I doubt you're going to get any objections to that whatsoever. Is there any further debate on that? Just before we put this forward for a vote, I have to echo your sentiments exactly. What you said there, it's a huge milestone for Weston. We were there for the unveiling when Dan came through and announced the federal funding, which is great. Looking forward to seeing the next progression, and I know Weston, they're looking forward to their fake turf, which can open up further. So if there's any federal, state politicians that are hearing this broadcast as we speak, we'd like to have that funding to keep that moving forward. But I just want to also thank and acknowledge the council staff that got this ready and put it at the forefront, particularly through the Director of Works Infrastructure. So heading into election year, this is the time that you want to, chase the money, and it came through. So thanks to the council staff for having that all ready to go. So without any further discussion or debate, we'll put it forward for a vote. Those in favour? It's unanimous. Now, we did have business with written notice. Now, I'm not sure in Councillor Saval's steed. Okay. So, concerning this notice of motion that's been submitted, if no one actually moves it and seconds it to put it forward, it's dead in the water basically. So just to be clear what happens with that. So would anyone like to move this? No? All right, well, that's lapsed. So we'll move on. Okay. Now, on to councillor reports. I just put a summary there, and if there's any questions, I don't want to take up the time of everyone to speak about things. I do want to touch on a couple of highlights though. So what Mitch mentioned before about the Freeman of the City, that was a fantastic thing to be a part of. The grand opening of the Curry Community Services Study Hub, that's fantastic. An amazing setup they've got down there. Mentioned before, Councillor Palmaski, the meetings with Clayton Bar, they're ongoing on a quarterly basis, not inclusive of the police meetings that we've got quarterly as well. So so we're getting plenty of time with the state member there. Also, just want to mention too something. So look, if you've got any questions, you don't have to ask them now. Just feel free to ask any questions you may have. But the Newcastle Airport, that's been kind of dragged into the spotlight as a bit of a political football for whatever reason. Not looking at this council, but other councils might get a look at there. It's looking pretty fantastic out there. I'm really looking forward to it being opened up, and I'm looking forward to. I want to see more investment out that way, and that's what the JO is pushing forward for. We want to see some freight moving through that airport, which would be a major exporter or a major avenue to export goods and services and bring things into the Cessnock LGA. So that's all I'm going to speak on with that. I will not talk any further. If you've got any questions, just let me know. Is there any further reports? Councillor reports? No? Okay, so that's noted. So now we'll move on to the motions of urgency. So Councillor Palmaski.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moving forward on what I was saying earlier, my motion of urgency is.
Sorry, Councillor
do you want me to
Pomalski,
read-
sorry. First time we've actually done a motion of urgency in practice, so we need to second. So you're moving?
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
I'll
sorry,
move
we'll have
it.
to
Yeah,
second.
Thank you.
Councillor Hill? Thank you. Sorry about that. Over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My motion of urgency is to call upon a collaborative approach with Member for Cessnock, Mr. Clayton Barr, and Federal Member Dan Repicoli for coordinated plans to support individuals currently residing in TAFE Park. The scope of the discussion is to include immediate access to emergency accommodation, identification and implementation of both short-term and long-term housing solutions, and coordination of support through local health services, community organisations and relevant support services to ensure ongoing assistance for affected individuals. There are currently a number of individuals experiencing homelessness seeking shelter in TAFE Park, located at the corner of Darwin Street and North Avenue, Cessnock. Whilst Council have attempted to support these people sleeping rough, further avenues of support should be actioned by way of involving our State Member, Mr. Clayton Barr, in ensuring the health and safety of these community members. Moreover, resources and funding and collaborating with the Federal Member for Hunter, Dan Repicoli, may also be explored. As a council, we have a responsibility in ensuring the health, safety and well-being of all our members of the community, including those experiencing homelessness. Without appropriate intervention, those affected remain vulnerable to the impact of exposure, poor health, social isolation and lack of access to essential services. Council, the state and federal governments working together can explore emergency accommodation options, identify pathways to permanent housing and work to engage local services to provide critical health and welfare support. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Pomalski. Councillor Jerd.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to add to this, Councillor. Sorry, I know I struggle with saying your last name. Anyway, so I just want to let you know I'm happy to support this motion tonight. But I just wanted to add, so at election time I spoke to Clayton Barr about this issue, saying we needed help from state, that our homeless community is growing and council on their own can't fix this issue. He informed me that there is grants there to help, but grants usually go to charities in the area, and that he was happy to have a meeting. At the time, I was saying to myself and the mayor, due to the fact that I'd been talking to him, due to the fact that last term myself and Councillor Watton, but when he was Councillor Watton, we had a couple of meetings with all the charities in the area, and talking about how we were going to work together to get these grants happening. So he said though that meeting wise, due to his schedule with parliamentary, that it would be not till July they'd be able to meet. But I think maybe we might work it in so everyone can attend that meeting if we can.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Jerd. I did make mention earlier, and with Mr. Troller on the phone. I think much the same as the matter of the policing, the matter with the HTP. I think a collaborative approach and all hands on deck, and that's why I did support your motion of urgency, particularly with regards to getting all three levels involved. Get them all in the room, and let's get something moving forward. And if we have to take the lead on that, I'm more than happy to, at least to initiate. So I'm more than happy to support that.
I love this.
Where possible.
I love this. This is teamwork. This is what I talk about all the time. So I'm happy to support.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Jerd. Councillor Hill.
Thank you, Mayor Watton. Just sort of springing to my mind as you make that point there, perhaps not relevant to modify the resolution as it stands, but perhaps just a comment for when we're reaching out to the state member and the federal member, if there are any key members of local charity groups and support groups that you've been dealing with in previous conversations, and yourself and Councillor Jerd had these catch-ups in the previous term, it may be worth extending that invitation to those individuals as well. They may have more practical on the ground knowledge about what is available in town, and while they may not be able to facilitate themselves, it may help us find different avenues to support these individuals.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Hill. So with the wording that we've got here, are you comfortable put that forward? We're all okay with that? Just take the note, yeah. Okay, yeah, totally on board with that. All right, so all in favour? It's unanimous. Now moving on to the next matter of urgency that's put through with regards to policy. If I could just get that wording up. MOU 4. Okay, so I'll get you to move this first, or have someone move it. So I could someone moving that way. Councillor Madden. Well, sorry, it is motion of urgency. So Councillor Jerd, you happy to move? I hope so. Seconded Councillor Madden. Councillor Jerd.
Well, I've mostly got out why I thought it was urgent at the start, but it's sort of come to my attention again with the teamwork, and there's been some from Councillor Maitland some ideas to actually add to my motion of urgency if it's possible, where the spreadsheet of all owned CCC facilities that are currently leased to non-for-profit organisations, when the lease is due to expire, how long the lease was taken for, what is the current value of these, are there any fees currently owing from the lease, and what is the assessed market rent subsidy offered to the lease as well? Is there a way I can add that?
I just want to check with the director, but some of these items could be flirting with operational matters. So I just want to make sure that we've got a lawful amendment and motion to put forward.
Might be a way to word it like where we might be able to get some of that information that doesn't affect operational too. If
Well, Councillor Madden, I might get you to speak to your thoughts.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Watton. Yeah, thanks, Jess. That's a pretty good motion, actually. Very similar to the email that was sent earlier in the week. Understand that some of that second couple of points may be operational. If they need to be taken to a private briefing session, I would be quite happy if the rest of the councillors are happy to deal with that. But I think that information needs to flow down so this whole situation that we've had with currently having with an association doesn't happen again.
Just get some commentary from Director.
Thank you, Mayor Watton. I would think that in relation to what Council is proposing, the review of the policy, the wording that's up there is sufficient to address what Council's seeking to address. I think if you're going to now add in preemptively specific items along the lines that you're suggesting, I think you're actually preempting what a review of a policy or procedure would be. And I don't think that would be appropriate to amend and add those additional items on at this point in time. That would be captured, if this is supported, in any review of the existing policy and procedures.
Okay, so we'll keep the amendment with what's on the screen right now. Is there any further discussion? Any questions? All right, I'll put it forward for a vote. All in favour? It's unanimous. And that being the last agenda item to discuss, the meeting's closed, 7:17. Thank you.